Hey everybody, good to be here today. My name is Brent Moors. Time to explore thinkorswim. Today, I want to talk about watch lists. I want to talk from beginning to advanced watch lists. I want you to be able to get the most out of them. I think it's a hugely important facet of the thinkorswim desktop platform. I want you to be a master of those watch lists by the time we're done today. Now, I am joined alongside by my friend and longtime veteran of the markets, Mr. Ben Watson, who's helping me on the chat. So as you have questions, feel free to type your questions in the chat between Ben and myself. We'll do our best to get your questions answered. Also, you can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can follow Ben on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brent Moors CS, at Ben Watson CS. The CS, by the way, is Charles Schwab, if you're wondering what the CS is. Before we get into discovering all you can do with watch lists today, let me just mention a few important things. One, options do carry a high level of risk and are not suitable for all investors. The paper money software application, which we will be using today, is for educational purposes only, and the information that I'm going to present today is for general informational purposes only. It's not a recommendation of any security strategy or chart type, even though we will be looking at individual symbols today. Those aren't recommendations. All investing involves risk, including risk of loss. And stop loss orders will not guarantee an execution at or near the activation price. Once activated, they compete with other incoming market orders. And past performance of any security or strategy does not guarantee future results or success. Let's talk about schedule here real quick before we get into watch lists. And that is coming up. Well, tomorrow is Juneteenth, which is a federal holiday. It's a market holiday. We won't be having any webcasts there tomorrow. The markets won't be open tomorrow. And a week from tomorrow, that's Wednesday, hosted by none other than Ben Watson, we have a mid-year market outlook. So I would encourage you to make a point to check that out. You got Liz Ann Saunders. I think a lot of you are familiar with her. Maybe you're not as familiar with Kathy Jones or Jeff Kleintop. They all have their strengths. Kathy Jones is more of a fixed income specialist. Jeff Kleintop, more of an international specialist. Liz Ann, I think a lot of you know, a great market analyst and a great market analyst. And so throw all those three together, and I would encourage you to check that out. That's a week from tomorrow, a week from Wednesday, hosted by Ben Watson. Okay, let's go to the thinkorswim platform. It's important, there's a lot of different aspects of this platform here that we can do. But I think one of the key aspects is being adept at using this left-hand column here. And let me close that down. And using it for watch lists. Now, something you may notice is I actually have a whole bunch of watch lists here listed. You can have more than one watch list. Watch lists are hugely helpful, but I want to talk to you about the important, the different types of watch lists you can have. But if you don't have this left-hand column, maybe it's shrunk down. You see that little arrow there? That's how you shrink it down. That's how you expand it. You can make it bigger. Just kind of go on the edge between those, and you can make it bigger or less big. The nice thing about these on the left-hand column, though, let me just pull up this watch list, is as I go to different tabs over here on the right, on the left, it stays put. So if I don't want to see it, I can just minimize it, but otherwise it's there for me to use it. And when I use it properly, what I can do is I can just go to the left-hand column, pull up that list, and as I click on different stocks, or if I use my keypad and just arrow down on different stocks, it brings up different stocks there for me. I'll show you how to do that. Okay. Same thing if I go over here to the Analyze tab. I want to learn more about the fundamentals of these companies. What I can do is I can just use my arrow key on my keypad, or I can just use my mouse and click and get this different information for each of these stocks. That's some of the power, just a little bit of the power of these watch lists here. But let's talk about how do you add a watch list, first of all. Well, you add a watch list. A watch list is one of many gadgets that are available to you on the left-hand column. To add a gadget, you go to the very bottom left of the screen, There's a little plus sign. You click on there and it allows you to add gadgets. So you can see all these. I'm not going to talk about these. I'm focusing on watch list right now. You click on watch list, it'll add a new watch list. Okay. And so if I click on watch list, boom, it just added a watch list. It's coming up with default. But what I can do is I can click here on where it said the name of the watch list, and then I can have my choice of these different lists that I can bring up. An important feature, though, is this. There's different kinds of watch lists. There's personal watch lists, which are my own lists. You're not going to see. Your personal lists are going to be different than my lists. Ben's personal lists are going to be different than my lists. Right? These are ones that you've created. Now, it's possible somebody shared a list or something with you. So in that case, maybe you didn't create it, but it's still yours now. It's now your list. Those are personal watch lists. And these may be a static personal list. Like, for example, I have one that's called Dividend Aristocrats. Notice there's no little purple, you see this little purple symbol just to the left of these? These are dynamic watch lists, the one with that purple symbol. That means they will change as the market changes, okay? Whereas these down here, they're static. They're going to stay. Whatever symbols are in there are going to stay put because they're not dynamic lists. I'll show you how to create both of those. There's another way of doing it, though, and that is looking at public watch lists, okay? And here's my public watch lists, and these are not my public watch lists. These are ones you have access to as well. So if I want to pull up, say, the S&P 500, I go down to public. I'm going to go down to the S's for S&P 500, click on that, and voila, I have a list of S&P 500 stocks. Let me shrink this down. Now, obviously, I can't see all 500. I'm going to have to scroll to see them. That's a big watch list, isn't it? If I want to get rid of one of these watch lists, let's say I want to get rid of this S&P 500 watch list, I can just click right here and I can delete the gadget. Boom. Now, there's a question. How do you change the ordering of these? Oh, you can do that. What you can do is you can click right on the little gear down here, and then what you can do is just drag. Now, I have all these watch lists, so they all look similar to one another. But let's say I want news underneath that watch list. I can just click on it, drag it, and voila, now news is below that watch list up there. Okay? And so I'm going to move it back up to the top because that's just the order I like it in. But just realize you can move those if you want. There. Okay? So let's go a little bit further into these watch lists here. So when you have a watch list up, let me just go S&P 100. I'm going to open this up. I showed you before that if I click over here, it's going to bring it up on the chart. Now, you may be trying that and it's not doing it for you. The key is you got to link them. Okay? You got to link them. When you first open it up, it's maybe it's changed since you did it initially and you've forgotten that you did this, okay? But there's a little link. That's supposed to be like a little chain link there. When you click on that chain link, it gives you a color number combination. I have 7 orange, okay? And so I click on that, and I have the same thing over here on a chart. It was unlinked. And once you link it, it'll stay put until you decide to change it and make that the same number color combination. If it's a different number color combination, it's not going to work. But what I can do is now it's linked. And now when I click on it on the left, it changes it over here. But you got to link them first of all. And you can link more than just charts. You can link other pages. As I showed you, you can link the Analyze page is one that I like to have linked. The Trade tab, I can link there and automatically. So if I'm looking at a stock over here if I'm deciding, well, I want to look at Pepsi here today, and I'm pulling that and I want to do a trade, I can just click on trade and Pepsi's already loaded for me there. All right. So there is there you go. So question, are the links limited to 9? Yes, the links are limited to these 9. Although, to be honest, Bob, I don't know why you'd want more than 9, but maybe there's some reason that you have that I'm not thinking of that you want more than 9. But as far as I know, you're limited to 9 on those. Okay. All right. Let's move forward. Okay. So that's linking. Now let's talk about creating a watch list. You want to create your own watch list. How are you going to do that? Well, you can click right on the name of watch list here. Okay. You can click when you click on. I'm clicking on S&P 100. I can go down here and just click on create watch list. Okay. Simple enough. Click on create watch list, and I'm just going to name this Brent's watch list. Okay. And then if I want to add symbols, I can say maybe there's some symbols I want to add. I want to add in Cisco, and then I click the enter key, and you can see it loads it up for me. And I can add in F for Ford, and I can add in CL for Colgate, and so on. Okay, so here's a short watch list I just named Brent's watch list. All right. So now and if I want to change the order of these stocks, I can move them up or move down right there. That's one way to create a watch list. Okay. Perhaps though, you have a list coming from another platform, maybe from some website somewhere that you downloaded to your computer. Then what you do is you can go to where it says import. Click on import, and it's going to say, remember there's a file there, okay? You can browse I can select that file by clicking here, and what it does is it brings up my computer. I'm not going to go through because I don't have a file right now to do it on, but you can go, maybe you had a file on your desktop, and you can go and you can select that file and import that file that way. So you can either create them like I just did, adding them one at a time, or you can import those. Now, if there's only 5 to 10 stocks on your list, it's probably easier just to type them in. But if you have a big long list, take advantage of that import function there on that. Okay. So now when I save it, I have Brent's watch list right there. We've just added this new watch list here. So that's how you can import. That's how you can add your own personal watch list here. But when I'm viewing these watch lists, now you may be going, Brent, why do you have so many? Because I like to look at different things. So for example, here's a watch list that I have where it shows me how different sectors have performed. Okay, so I have my different sectors. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see the whole thing. There's 11 sectors in the market, and I have these different columns here on this. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here. Let me shrink this one down so you can see it. And I like that description column on this one in particular because the symbols for those sectors don't do me much good, right? Because I don't know what SP 500 number 20 is, but if I look at the description, I can see, oh, that's industrials. Okay. And I can see this, and I have different columns here that I can do. Now, you may be looking at these columns and going, oh, those are cool columns, Brent. These are just return columns. Okay. These are customized columns. And if you're interested, I have them pinned on my Twitter page or my X page. It's on the pinned tweet. I have these 3 pinned there for you if you're interested. By the way, there's a survey link in the chat. We always appreciate you when you fill out our surveys and give us some feedback. Okay, so if you want those, you can do this. But the point here right now is, okay, the point here is you can customize what you want to see. Here's my sector watch list, but if I go down to my Dow Jones Industrial Average watch list, notice all I'm showing is the percentage change. I don't have those columns there because I don't necessarily want those there. Or if I click on a different one, oh, I have it similar down there. But if I'm looking at some of these others, I have different columns, and you can have different columns for different watch lists. Okay. So one question that is often asked is, can I link the columns, the specific columns to the watch list, the specific watch list? And the answer is not directly, but here's a couple things. One, that's why I have multiple watch lists. It's easy for me to change watch lists. It's a little bit more cumbersome. I'll show you how to do it to change those columns though. So if I want to change the watch list, I can just go up here and change my watch list to something else here, okay? So let me go up here and I'll go to NASDAQ 100. Now I have NASDAQ 100 with my columns loaded there already there, okay? Now, I don't want to have to keep on loading those columns in each time. So what I do is I just leave those columns there for this watch list, close that down. If I want different columns for a different watch list, I'll go down to one of these others. Another approach to take is, as you change these and tweak these, maybe you have an ideal of what your platform is going to look like, okay? And as you tweak the platform, you make little adjustments, you're changing it, little bits, incrementally, you're changing it. And it strays from where you want it to be. Well, you can save your workspace, okay? Maybe you've changed your watch list here and changed the columns on the watch list, and you want to bring it back to the state that you want it at. Well, you can save it as a workspace. So get it to the point that you like it at, and then go up to the little gear up here. And if it's at a point you like it at, then what you're going to do is you're going to save the workspace right here. Click on Save Workspace As. It'll ask you to name it. You name it. You can see I have one, Brent, June 2024. I update them occasionally. I usually keep an older one on there just in case I mess up something and I want to go back to a previously saved workspace. So when I click on here, it's going to ask me, are you sure you want to do that? And it's going to reset it. It actually brought it to a different screen for some reason, but now I got to resize this guy. I got to bring it back here. And now my workspace is set up with the columns and the watch list that I want in the order that I want. Okay, let me just see if I can hit up some questions here, and then we're going to keep on moving up with watch lists. Will the current positions watch list automatically populate and update? Yes, it should, DJ. Absolutely. So the question is, when you click on watch lists, there's different watch lists, as I mentioned. But if you go to current account positions, this should bring up current positions that you have. Now I have some option positions. I have a bunch of option positions in there, but these should be updated for you there on this. Now I'm just on this one particular account here, but that's the current account I'm on there. So yeah, those should automatically update for you. Let me go back. Let's go, and it looks like Ben's helping out. Ben answered your question there, Nick, on that. Okay, let's keep on looking at this. We talked about how to create personal watch lists from scratch. We talked about how to import personal watch lists, how to reorder them, and there's another way as well, though, and that is you can create these dynamic personal watch lists. In other words, the ones with the little purple circles next to them. So for example, I have one that says the close is greater than the upper Bollinger Band. Okay, I've created that one. So every day when I look at this, okay, every day when I look at this, it is going to be a different number. A different number of stocks, different symbols there. That close greater than the current, and the same with these others. And so that's very convenient, by the way. The way to create those is to use, so I'm just trying to make this a little bit bigger here. I don't know why that is not, hold on one sec, see if I can get that. There we go. The way to do that is to start with the scan. You go to the scan tab, you can create the scan that you like, and then you will be updated. So let's say we want to create a scan of stocks that have upcoming earnings that are in the S&P 100 and are above their 20-day moving average. Okay, fair enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up over here, and we said S&P 500. Did I say S&P 500 stocks, I think? So I'm going to click on all stocks. I'm going to go to S&P 500 under public. S&P 500 stocks. Okay. So now I'm looking at S&P 500 stocks. And we said we wanted stocks that have upcoming earnings in the next 20 days or something like that. What I can do is I can add a filter. In this case, I'm going to add a study filter. And I have past sessions, by the way, on using scans. If you're interested in those past sessions, what you can do is go to the channel, go to the Trader Talks channel on YouTube. This is what it looks like. I just typed in Trader Talks Schwab, and let me go back a page. This is what it came up. When I typed in Trader Talks Schwab, this is what came up. Oh, well, here's the channel right here. You can click on that, and then you can go to playlists. I'm going to click on playlists. Down near the bottom here's the Exploring Thinkorswim playlist. I'm going to click on View Full Playlist, and you can go back and you can see different scans, okay? So different save sessions. Here's one I did on scanning for growth and value, study scans, okay? Different scans, I have these back a couple months ago. All right, so let me get out of this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a filter. I'm going to add a study filter, okay? So here's a study filter, and it always defaults to alphabetically the ADX crossover. But what I want to do is I want to go to corporate actions because I wanted earnings. I want earnings. It has earnings anytime in the next 20 days, okay? Now, maybe you want something with earnings. Maybe you want something that doesn't have earnings. If you don't want it to have earnings, just instead of has, make it does not have. But I'm going to make it has. Has earnings announcement anytime in the next 20 days, okay? And then we also said a stock that's above its 20-day moving average, I think is what I said. So I'm going to add another filter. That's another study filter, by the way. I'm going to add that study filter on there. That's a popular study, moving average scan. The close is at least 1% above the 20-day moving average, okay? So there we go. I'm going to click on scan. We got 14 results on that. If we did this in earnings season, I suspect you get a lot more results here. But those are our results right now. Now, this is a scan. Now you're thinking, Brent, we're talking about watch lists here. What does this have to do with watch lists? The thing is, as soon as I save this scan, it becomes a watch list. So to save the scan, I'm going to click on the little hamburger sandwich menu right up here, the middle one. There's 3 of them. I'm going to click on the middle one. And I'm going to click on Save Scan Query. Okay. It comes up with this. And then I want to give it some descriptive name. We said earnings within 20 days above 20 SMA, okay? All right, so I'm going to save that scan there. Now, in the future, whenever I come up to my watch list and go up here, and I go to my personal watch list, I have one that's this, and this will update. Obviously, stocks that have earnings in the next 20 days and are above their 20-day SMA are going to change all the time. That will be a new watch list for me each time I want to look at that watch list there. Okay? Simple enough. Obviously, there's endless combinations that you can use of what's important for you to look at here. Just to give you some examples of ones that I've kind of done for myself here, I have some that I've just kind of labeled bearish scan watch lists, or above or below 20-day and 50-day simple moving averages. I have some fundamental scans as well, and so on. Bull flag scans, but income, high IV or low implied volatility, RSI is doing something or other. So when you save those, it becomes very easy, okay? It becomes very easy. Linda said, how can I tell it will change all the time? Well, it depends what the parameters are. So look, the stocks that have earnings come out once a quarter. So the list of companies that have earnings in the next 20 days is going to completely refresh within 20 days. Because if it has 20 earnings within the next 20 days, it's not going to have them in the next, it won't have them in 20 more days, right? Above or below a moving average, that may change, maybe not as much. But some things don't change quite as often. So for example, earnings, something that's dependent upon earnings growth rates. Well, earnings are released once a quarter, okay, 4 times a year. So the reality is that's not going to change quite as often. So it just depends on the parameters, and you just got to think about the parameters there, okay? So you do, so there you go, all right? So you don't need to rescan. Anytime you bring this up, it will come up with these, okay? This will update the prices, and I think it will change symbols, but I'm not sure if you need to just, I don't know, do that or something to update those there, okay? All right, so let me go through this one more time, everybody. Personal watch list. If they have the little purple symbol next to them, they're a dynamic watch list that will change. If they don't have the purple symbol, it's a static watch list that is stuck. In other words, nothing wrong with stuck. Sometimes you want them to be the same. Those are your symbols there. Okay, now let's move forward. So we talked about these personal watch lists. We talked about creating personal watch lists. We talked about creating them from the scan or just creating them by clicking on this menu, and either you can import from here or creating that watch list. By the way, if you ever want to share a watch list or edit a watch list, if I want to edit it, click on Edit Watch List. I'm on Brent's watch list right now. That's the one I'm on, which is why it says Edit Brent's watch list. If I want to choose a different one, I can go down to Edit. Okay, there, and it gives me the list. If I want to delete a watch list, I can go down here and delete. Okay. If I want to share a watch list, I can share it. If I want to edit it, though, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to pull it up to here, and we say, well, let's add in, I don't know, General Electric there. I'm just going to add that, save that, and now my new watch list is saved with those edits. Okay? All right. Now, let's move forward here. Let me just see if I can get, Ben's getting a lot of questions, so let me see if I can help him out with those. Do scans or studies give birth to watch lists? Scans give birth to watch lists. Scans. Now, there are scans that have what we call study filters, but don't confuse those with chart studies. Those are different things. They say the different, similar word, study, but it needs to be, it's born from the scan functionality there. Now, I happen to use something with 2 study filters, but maybe you'll use a fundamental filter or something else on that. All right. There we go. Okay. Let's move forward here. So customizing these columns. So I have Brent's watch list here, and I want to change the columns. There's 2 ways to do it. I can just right click on the column header, and it gives me the choice to customize. Okay? Or I can go to the little gear, click on that little gear, and I can click on customize, and it gives me a list of all these possible columns that I can have. Okay? I don't have room for that many, maybe 4 or 5 here, but I have a whole bunch of ones that I can do. Okay? I can add those. So if I want to add on an IV percentile, okay, I can just either double click on it or I can click on it once and click on add item. Okay. Now it's over there. Click on OK. And now I have that column. I may need to adjust things just a little bit to see them. There's my IV percentile here. I can see that there. So customizing these columns for what you want is great, that's helpful there. Now, if I have different watch lists, I can customize them totally different columns here, right? Remember, I have this up here, different watch lists, different columns there. All right. Now, in addition to, those are different scans. Those were personal scans I've done. There's a lot of public watch lists here as well. Okay. I've already looked at some of those. Okay. I've already looked at some of those. And there's public ones that everybody has access to. Okay. Percentage change gainers. Well, that's talking about today's change. That's going to change every day. Notice it changes. It has that little purple symbol. It's a dynamic scan. Okay. Whereas stocks in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, although they occasionally, every few years, you'll get a new stock on the Dow, that's pretty much a static list. Okay. So when I click on that, it's going to bring up those Dow Jones stocks. So those are public ones, there's not that much more to say about those public ones other than they're already created for you. And go ahead and look through them. There's some that you may find of interest. Earnings in the next 5 days, right? Whatever. Now, in addition, those are what's called public, but there's others that are kind of public, but they're not labeled public. So for example, lovers and losers. Analyst upgrades, analyst downgrades, post-market movers, pre-market movers. These are going to change all the time, of course, because stocks get upgraded or downgraded all the time, or post-market, that's just for today's session. These are available to you, though. It's not labeled a public watch list, but it's public, okay? Top 10 movers. A lot of times people want to know, what's the big mover for the day? Well, we can go to top 10% gainer on the New York Stock Exchange. There we go. And some of those, a lot of these are going to be smaller stocks here. So what do you do? Let me just give you kind of a dilemma. You like the top 10 percentage gainers, but you don't like that some of these are really small stocks that you're not as interested in. Okay. How could you solve that issue? Well, let's think about it. What if we went over here to our scan and created our own list? Let me get rid of our existing filters. Let me go up here. I'm going to go up to lovers and losers. No, what were we doing? We were doing top 10 percentage gainers in the NYSE. But I also only want S&P 500 stocks. I can go intersect with public S&P 500. I can scan that. Well, none of the S&P 500 stocks are currently in the top 10 percentage gainers category there on that. Okay. But I think what you can see is if you want let me do this, top 10 most active NYSE stocks. Okay. Now we get a big intersection. Now what I can do, if I wanted to, I'm not going to save it, but because I already showed you how, I could go up, I could save that scan query. And now in the future, when I'm looking at these, instead of pulling this up where it had the ones I didn't like as much or whatever, it has my own twist on it there. Okay. So top 10, you can search by industry. Okay. So again, I can go energy, select all energy, or I can go to information technology, select all information technology. And this issue I just mentioned to you about, here's information technology, but look, there's a lot of companies that are just minuscule little companies here that are not of that much interest to me. So what did I do? what did I do? This is what I did. I went to scan. I said, hey, I only want stocks that are in the S&P 500 that are in the whatever sector I want, information technology. And then I scan there. Now, when I save this, which I already have, now instead of coming up over here to a watch list where I have a bazillion IT stocks, instead what I can do is I can go to my personal watch list and I can go to my S&P 500 info technology, and it just gives me the large cap, essentially, stocks, S&P 500 stocks that are in the IT sector there. Okay, so realize you can go down here by industry, but you're going to get a lot of little stocks. Maybe that's what you want. But if you don't want all the little stocks, do something similar to what I did and just save it as a scan. In fact, I like that so much. What I've done is I've done that for all the sectors out there. And that way it's an easy way for me to use that in the future. Okay? Now, let me move forward here. We talked about, I think we talked about those items here. Now, let me go and just mention this. Here's these gadgets over here, these watch lists over here. You can pull up a similar list. You may be going, well, that's great, but you only have, your real estate's kind of limited here on the left, okay? Your real estate's limited on the left, okay? And what you can do is go to MarketWatch, okay? Click on MarketWatch quotes. It's essentially the same thing as these watch lists over here. Okay, you can select what you want. I have NASDAQ 100 up here, but I can change it to any of these. All right, and then I can have a lot of columns here. Okay, I've got a lot of columns here. Now, one question I sometimes get is, hey, I like this setup here. I have these different different column headers with different bits of information. Maybe you're more of a fundamental investor and you want more fundamental columns. Maybe you're more of a technical investor and you want more technical columns. There's no way to directly save those, but what you can do is you can do a separate workspace. So if I go to, say, long-term, what I can do is I can bring up a long-term workspace. Again, it brought it over to my other window here. So let me just adjust this real quick. It brings up my other workspace. And then when I go to my MarketWatch quotes, look at what I have. I have my columns for my more fundamental long-term approach to investing here on this. Okay, so you can't save the column headers directly, but you can save the workspaces. And so if I want to look at future, I can have a futures workspace or a this is my kind of my standard one that I named. And by the way, just slight side note, those of you who are coming over from Street Smart Edge, they have a workspace saved for everybody that is a Street Smart Edge kind of one that's meant to more mimic the Street Smart Edge platform there. Now, let me just see if I can answer some questions as we're wrapping up here. And once you get the workspace saved, I kind of already showed you this already, but so I'll be real quick. Go up to the gear and you can save your workspace as right there. Okay. All right. So let's see what questions we have. Ben's doing a stellar job and gets those answered. How do you change a static to a dynamic watch list? Well, you can't really. Once you have a watch list saved, like, let's go back. Oh, I got to go. Remember, I saved that watch list. I'm going to have to go back here for a sec. Let me go back to my, let me go back to my June one. This is the last time I'm going to change it. Sorry about this, folks. Well, let me get this back up. Once you have a list of stocks in there, and I have this let's go down to a personal watch list here, okay? I have this one that's just called default, okay? So here's the watch list. That's just a list of stocks. If I want to take that and change that to something, I mean, that list isn't going to, why would that list update? That's the list I saved. But maybe I want to change this to something where it's just showing stocks on this list that have earnings in the next 20 days. Okay. I'm not going to go through the whole process because I already showed you a little bit on that. What I would do is I'd go to my scan. I'd probably start with that watch list right there, put in the parameters here, the filters here to look for stocks in the next 20 days. Then I'd save that, I'd resave that, and I can save it with a new name or something like that. So that's how you, that's how you do that. Okay. So let's see, Brent, you can first load the percentage gainers scan. I may have missed up on something there. Thank you, Robert. Robert's always helpful in these chats, sessions, very knowledgeable. Appreciate you. And I do appreciate your participation, everybody, because, you know, sometimes as I'm talking, I'll forget to mention something obvious. And it's in your comments in this chat that helps remind me. Okay, I mess up on those things too, and sometimes I forget things. Sometimes there's some experienced users out there and go, Brent, there's a different way to do that that's better, and you help show me, remind me of that. So I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm not sure if I miscommunicated. So B just says, oh, you have to rescan what you're looking for to update your watch list. You don't have to rescan what you're looking for if these are one of these things. I want this RSI bull flag scan. As soon as I open it, I don't have to rescan anything. It opens up to the current market. And look at that. I don't have to rescan anything. This is now saved as a watch list. I'm sorry if I didn't communicate that well enough earlier, folks. Okay, just a reminder, thank you. Thank you, Ben, for helping me out in the chat. Thanks to our production crew who's helped us out a lot, helps me put out a session that is much better than if we didn't have that. And just a reminder, next Wednesday, not tomorrow. Tomorrow is the holiday, Juneteenth. We're not going to have webcasts tomorrow, but next Wednesday we have that market outlook session. So coming up next, we have generating income in your portfolio. Everybody, thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll see you same time next week. Bye-bye, everybody.